Okay, let's go ahead and get started there, everybody. Welcome back to another Strange Bird Jim stream. I'm your host, Strange Bird Jim. And today we are going to be getting started with some Conceptis puzzles. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish off the Block-a-Pix. If I get close to the end, then I'll try to push it past the normal hour that I go for, but we're getting into the harder portion in that it's a little more difficult for me to discern where the blocks need to go. Uh, at this all this here was fairly easy for the most part. Um, but now we're getting into a little bit more of a difficult situation there. Um, we may have some video uploads and just chatting afterwards, but probably won't be for very long. It all depends on how long it takes for this particular video for Conceptus. Um, Also, we got some No Man's Sky later on tonight. So if you're here with me on the stream, stay tuned for that. Um, but, you know, for those of you watching on YouTube concerning the Conceptus, just know that, hey, if you want to kind of finish off the puzzle, here's the number just in case, so you can always reference it or, try to find it and finish it off. But again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it within an hour or so. Enough chatting. Let's go ahead and get started on it, shall we? Let me go ahead and bring this up here real quick. And yeah, it's not showing up directly. Let me change the properties. There we go. Now it's showing. Okay. So, okay. Well, we got the 4 there. We got the 2 there. Um, yeah, we can finish off that. That's fairly easy to do. Okay, obviously we can't do anything there, and that's obviously not possible. So we have a 2, 7 to kind of worry about. So yep, that's the only thing that we can do right at the moment. So 4 is all there. That's 5. Okay. Hmm. Okay, this 3 can't go straight up there because that would cut off this 4 and that wouldn't be possible. So this 3 has to go there, which means that 2 is that way. Um, this 4 can't go up like that, nor can it go to the side. It has to do a 2 by 2, so there's that, which means this 4 is limited to that, which we got all those. So, okay, let's see, what else we got? This 5 goes out here like so. Don't know if it goes the rest of the way or if it comes back here. Don't really know. All depends on what this 3 does. So, unfortunately, this 12 has a lot of room. But obviously can't do a single line both vertically or horizontally. However, it can do that. And it can do that. So, or it can do 3 by 4. So in both directions. So there's a lot of room for it to maneuver still on that one. So, okay, now obviously the 15 here doesn't have enough on the horizontal or the vertical. So it can only do a 3 by 5, which means, like it can't do anything that way, right? That doesn't work. So the only possibility that it can do is that for the most part, because it could go back here or it could continue on there. Don't really know, but either way, that's about as much as it can do at this time. So now this 16 can do a 4 by 4, but it can't do a 2 by 8. And obviously it can't do, 1 by 16, so really the only option that it has is the 4 by 4. Okay. This 4 can only do that. Push that 3 over there. This 5 can only do that now. This 3 has to go down like so. This 4 can only do that, which means that 3 is done. That 3 is done. There we go. 2. And this 3 can go out like that, but don't know where else it can go. This 6 could now do that, but don't really know if it's there or if it's there. Don't really know. This 15 is done. Hmm. Okay, this 7, can't do horizontal, can't do, double or anything like that. It has to do by 1 by 7. So we can do 6 down here, but obviously, it could go up 1 there or it could go down 1. Don't really know. Don't want to, make a guess at it. So, um, the 21, obviously, no single, 21 length can work with that. And obviously it can't do any kind of 2 by 10.5 or, some crap like that. So obviously, we can't really do anything along those lines. So it has to be a 3 by 7. And obviously you can't do that. So that's about as much as it can do. And that's about as much, that's all it can do. It can't do anything else. It has no other room to get the 3 by 7. So now this 8 can't go all the way down, so it's forced to do 2 by 4, so there's that. This 12 can't do anything horizontal, can't do anything vertical. So, and obviously it can't do a 2 by 6 because, that's it's not enough. So it's relegated to a 3 by 4, and there you go. And that 9 is just left with that. This 3 can do that. Now, if I do a 6 like so, that screws over this 3. So it has to remain a 1 by 6. So there's that. Okay. Well, this 4 only has that much room to work with. And there we go. Okay. Okay, this 12 can still do that. Can still do that. So it still has room. Obviously, it can't do the 2 by 6, going up anymore. So and obviously this 8 can't do horizontal line right at this moment in time. So it's relegated to a 2 by 4, which it could either be 2 by 4 that way or 2 by 4 that way. Don't really know, but either way, that's all I can do, which means this 12 can only do that. Okay. This 5 is stuck with that, which means this 8 can only do that. Okay, which means this 4 can do that. This 5 has to go there. This 3 goes there, 2 goes there, 3 goes there, 2 goes there. Okay. This 4 can no longer do anything more than just do that, which means that 2's there, that 6 is there. This 3 has to do that, and there we go. Okay. Oh, forgot that single one right down there. Okay. So I'm going to assume that this is a 9 by 5. Why do I say that? Well, first off, a 1 by 45 is not going to work, vertically and horizontally, as you can see, right? The other option, obviously, can divide that by 2. It has a 3 by 15 possibility, but there's not enough room for that either. I mean, this is the longest that I can go 3 by 15 for. Okay. The only other solution to 45 is a 9 by 5. Okay. Which means, we have, a 9 by 3 right at this moment in time, and there's a 9 by 5. That's all you can do with this 45 right at this moment in time. Like, I can't see any other methods that I can do with this right at this point. So So that helps out because we have our 8 there, 3 there, 5 here, 4 there. This 6 is going to have to do that because it can't do anything else. This 4 is like that. This 4 is like that. 2 like so. This 4 goes like so. 3 pushes out like so. Let's see, 9 can't do anything vertical, so it's relegated to a 3 by 3 because obviously it can't do anything horizontal either. So 3 by 3, well, I mean, the only option that I can do with that, because obviously I can't do 3 by 3 there or there, so this is my only option for a 3 by 3. There we go. This 12 could still do a 2 by 6. Or obviously could do 3 by 4, 3 by 4. There's a lot of possibilities for that one. This 6 could either do a straight line or could do a 2 by 6. Don't really know yet. Okay, this 9 can't do anything vertical or horizontal, so it's relegated to a 3 by 3, which the only possibility for it is this. So there's that. Okay, this 10 no longer has space for on the horizontal for a full 10, nor can I do anything vertically, as you can see, so it is relegated to a 2 by 5, which the only way to do that is to do that. Finish off those. This 6 is now forced to do a straight line because it can't do anything more. Let's see. This 6 is no longer able to do a straight line, so I can only do that. Pushes everything here. This 4 can't do, any other line but that, so okay, 12 can no longer do a 2 by 6, like at all. So it is forced to be a 3 by 4. Problem is that it could be this or it could be that. Either way, that's about as much as we can do at this time. 9 is now stuck. It can't do anything, 1 by 9, horizontally or vertically, so it is relegated to a 3 by 3, which that's all it can do. 8 can only do a 2 by 4, so there's that. And we are done. Okay. 28 can still, no, it cannot do a 2 by 14. There's not enough room. So, because we can't do a 2 by 14 anymore, we are relegated to a 4 by 7. Because obviously 28 is not divisible by 3. So the next possibility, and really the only possibility, because obviously you can't divide it by 5, can't divide it by 6, so So it's just a 4x7, which that's the only option. Finish off those. Okay, obviously 48 is not going to be able to do anything on the horizontal or on the vertical. Not enough room for 1x48, obviously. I mean, just the size alone, which you guys can't really see it, but it, it's a 40x40, size board. So, 1x48 isn't possible, period, right? Um, so, um, we can try a, 2x24, but I mean, even that, there really is no room to do a 2x24, as you can kind of see. We have a 3x16. We can try that. Nope. Not long enough there. And not long enough there. So 3x16 is out. Well, what about 4x12? Because that's the next one. Well, obviously, 4x12 can't really handle anything, vertically. So we're going to have to try to look at the horizontal here. And as you can see, that's its only option. Can't take 5 into 48. We could try to do 6, because that would be 6 times 8. But as you can see, there's really not that much room for 6 even. You know, um, you know, there's no room for 6. This is 6. you know, I can't go anywhere with 6. So my only option is the 4x12, which this is the only option that we can do with the 4x12. So this is the answer. That's all we can do. So let's see. This 12 is no longer able to do a 1x12 anymore. So can we do a 2x6? Doesn't look like it. So, we're left with a 3x4, which means that's all we can do. So, 4, 3, 2. Okay. I mean, we're doing a pretty good job. I mean, we're over 20 minutes into the puzzle, and we are taking care of it fairly well. But we'll see. We'll see where we stand at the end here. Um, I'm half inclined on just doing that, but I'm not 100% sure it could still be that. I'm pretty sure that it's this, just because there's nothing that could take, and there's nothing that can remove this spot, otherwise. So, but I can't be 100% sure on that. Okay, this 8 obviously can't really do anything vertically or horizontally. So it is left to a 2x4, which obviously we can't do a 2x4 that way. But, you know, we can have a 2x4 there or there, but we don't really know. So that's about as much as we can do right at this moment in time for this. Hmm. Okay, that's about as much as we can do there. About as much as we can do there. 9 can't do horizontal or vertical. So it's relegated to a 3x3. Problem is that it could be this, it could be that. Either way, that's about as much as we could do, which pushes this 8 to do that. This 6 can do that. 12 can't do anything concerning a 2x6. So we're kind of left with the 3x4, which could either be that or that. Either way, that's about as much as we can do there. Okay, 12 can't do anything 2x6. You know, either horizontally or vertically. So it's relegated to a 3x4, which it can only do that. Push that 3 to do that. This 6 can only do this. Okay, obviously this 8 can't do anything on the horizontal or on the vertical, so it's relegated to a 3x4. It can't, or yeah, 2x4. It can't do this because that blocks the 6, so it can only do that. Which there's a 4, there's a 3, and there's a 6. Okay. So what I'm thinking is this 3 goes straight up, this 5 closes in, that 7 closes in, and 2 goes there, and then 9 goes up. But I can't confirm that yet. You know, like the 3 could still do that and cause problems, but well, I mean, either way, it has to block this one, so I mean that 7's done anyway, right? So, hmm, okay, this 20 doesn't have any room to do anything horizontal or vertical 1 by 20, obviously. So, does it have room to do a 2 by 10? Most likely not, because that's about as far as we can go at the 2 by 10 on the vertical or, you know, and on the horizontal. So, you know, nothing we could do there. Um, so we are left with a 4 by 5. Um, let's see, hold on. I don't really care about that. Um, let's see, we could do 4 by 5, 4 by 5 there, or we could do 4 by 5 there. Either way, I think that's about as much as we can do at this time. Hmm. This 8 can't do anything 1x8 anymore. So it's left with a 2x4, which can't do anything there, so I can only do that. This 5 can only do that. 4 is there, 2 is there, this 4 is there. Okay. Have a little bit of a cascade there, which is nice. Okay, obviously this 14 can't do anything, doesn't have the room for 14, so it's relegated to a 2x7, which obviously can't do anything, vertically, so can only do the horizontal, like so, which means 20 is like that, 12 is like that, 6 is like this, there's our 9, there's our 3, there's our 5, and there's that 2. So, okay. This 5 can't do anything on the horizontal anymore, so it is relegated to vertical, which, I mean, we could have it like so, or it could go all the way down like that, but either way, I need to do that. So this 3 goes up by 1. Okay, so I'm gonna make the assumption that the 6 isn't this, because that leaves these two alone. Or it leaves like, 2 out of the 4, 3, blocks here alone. So I'm gonna make the assumption that it's that, but I don't really know. Either way, I need to have that. So there's that. That pushes this 5 up to be 1 that way, which blocks this 8 from doing a single line 1x8. So now it's, forced to be a 2x4, which its only option is that. This 6 is now forced to do that, which this 6 is now forced to do what I was thinking I was going to do. 2 is going down. 3 can't go to the, can't go horizontally, or can't go horizontally, so it has to go vertically. 2 is there. This 4 is forced to do that. 3 is done. This 3 is done, and 5 is done. Okay, we are getting very close to the end. Okay, obviously, can't do anything, horizontal or, vertical or horizontal for this 8, right? If I try to do a 2x4 that way, that blocks this 8 from going anywhere. That's not possible. So the only other 2x4 that I can do is that. So that leaves me to fill those in. And as you can see, because this 3 had to fill that in and the 3 only had that much space left, this 8 can't do a 2x4 anymore. It has to go all the way to the end, which I was kind of commenting about anyway. And last but not least, there we go. So amazingly, I was able to get done with this medium and this particular medium plus in 47 minutes flat, actually. So that's interesting, but we're done with that. So I was really worried that the medium plus was gonna cause me a lot of problems on that one, but I was able to get through it. So um, you know, Oh boy. But, puzzles like that can be quite taxing sometimes. you know, um, because you never know where certain blocks might need to go. You know, like I showed the fact that some blocks had like 6 to 8 different possibilities they could go for. And it's like which way do I go with these? That kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the Conceptus puzzles because I've completed all that I want to complete. Um, uh, like I mentioned before, I don't really touch the Symbipix, the Dot-a-Pix, the Maze-a-Pix. Don't really bother with those particular puzzles myself. You're welcome to do them if you want. I mean, Conceptus is a free site, so you can make yourself an account and go through them. If you want to play them, if you want to tackle those puzzles, you're welcome to. Um, the Symbipix can be, challenging. I don't really find the Mesapix or Dotapix challenging myself. Um, the you know the reason why I don't really find the Mesapix all that challenging is the fact that typically the um, like I can't really like I don't have the um, um, I don't have the window available, so I um, can't really show it. But um, the it shows. Oh, here, let me try to maybe explain through the um, through this very tiny screen here. Let me see if I can maybe increase the size of the screen so you guys can kind of see it a little bit more. So obviously, you know, not exactly the cleanest of images here, but um, so normally it has a start point and an end point, right? Much like any kind of maze. The thing is with this one is the fact that, you're basically, you know, you're going through the maze and coloring, going through all these blocks to create a picture. And it, um, there's no, um, it's typically one where it's like, you have to fill in everything, you have to, you know, color in, all the boxes. Okay. So, um, here, let me go to rules there so you can kind of, um, see what I'm talking about here. Obviously, if you have a, standard maze, and great, kind of thing. You're basically kind of drawing in, the maze to get to the end, and it, generates a small little picture for you and stuff like that. Um, but I mean, you know, you're, for the colors, you're basically drawing in the picture with the blocks and stuff like that. And there really isn't, um, it really doesn't feel that much of a challenge for me concerning that. So, Um, I mean, if you enjoy a good puzzle or if you enjoy a good maze, um, then by all means, go for it. It's just, um, I don't know. Maybe in my mind, like, feels like, sometimes I feel like I can design harder mazes than what I see on here. But then again, um, they most likely they generate these, um, you know, they have to programmatically, generate them based off of the picture itself, so that, um, the, um, the program takes the pixelated art and tries to generate a puzzle, the maze around it, and I don't know. It just feels a little too easy. So that's all. That's my problem with the maze. Um, so I don't really bother with those puzzles all that often. So um, I've already kind of talked about the Simba-Pix before, and I've already kind of talked about the problems that I've had with Sudoku and the Kuroku puzzles. So, and I just stay away from Neurokambe with a 10-foot pole. But again, if you want to try them out, go right ahead. You know, it's just my own personal preference. That's all. So, you don't, you know, if you love them, have a ball with them. Okay. I'm not gonna say like, oh my God, um, you're, everybody's gonna have a terrible time with all these puzzles. No, no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm just saying, some of these, you know, um, like, I kind of wish that, they handled it a little bit better, and the fact that like, um, um, for example, my often complaint with like the Sudoku. Oh gosh, I gotta sneeze all of a sudden. Sorry about that. Um, my often problem with the Sudoku is the fact that my pencil marks don't get crossed out or don't get automatically removed. Um, like I get the pencil marks, automatically removed down with the, skyscrapers, but not in a Sudoku. So that's why it's like, mm, you know. Now, obviously, there are some puzzles um, that might be really hard, but I mean, the easies are too easy for me nowadays, you know. So, um, I mean, if anybody wants me to show a puzzle with this at some point in time, let me know. Like, come into my chat and say, like, hey, can you show me how you do Sudoku so I can learn from it? I mean, that's fine. You know, I can try to help you out if you're kind of struggling with how to understand Sudoku, then come into my chat and ask. You know, there's I don't um I'm not gonna like rate you or anything along those lines. Everybody has to start somewhere. Okay, everybody starts at that lower tier. You don't know exactly what's going on. You know, um, Obviously, some people are going to get it faster than others. That's just the way of the world. Okay. Um, you know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't work and get better at, you know, solving these things, doing math problems, so on and so forth. It's all about, you know, how to look at a problem in a way that, works for you. Okay. So, okay, I need to blow my nose here real quick. Be right back. All right. So, so yeah, I just wanted to, point that out that, like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, everybody starts, at ground floor. Okay, everybody starts at that ground floor. Okay, so, um, you know, you're like, okay, let me put it into this kind of analogy. How do you build a skyscraper? Do you start at the penthouse first? How do you go about doing that? Hmm? How would you ever build a penthouse prior to any of the other floors below it? That would be quite a feat, wouldn't you imagine? You have to kind of start out at the bottom. Okay, if you want to build a building, with multiple floors to get to the top, right? So, how do you go about doing that? Get that foundation in and start going floor by floor by floor by floor. Okay, and you keep on building it up. Okay, so uh, so yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, don't sweat, you know, like, oh my God, why can't I be at that, penthouse level of, of skill? It's like, well, have you worked on your foundations? Have you worked on the first floor? Have you worked on building yourself up? It takes time. It takes practice, you know. Um, so that's all, Just understand that. Um, you know, sure, there might be some people that might be able to build that building up fast, or they might have had prior experience, you know, of building that building through other like games or whatever, or through like learning a different code or learning a different language, whatever. Okay, but I mean, they still had to struggle with that first ever attempt. They still had to learn the process of getting through that. So, so, um, you know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to kind of tackle, new challenges. Okay. And if you need a hand, you know, ask, you know, I think that's one of the problems that I feel is kind of going on nowadays. Is people, this whole mindset of, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And it's like, well, you have to learn it somewhere. And sometimes having those people there to give you a helping hand, can lift you up faster. So it's just one of those sad things that's kind of going on nowadays. It feels like, I don't know. That's just my experience anyway. So, but that's gonna be it for our Conceptis puzzles. We're gonna go ahead and end it here. I think I might just go straight into No Man's Sky. I don't know if I really want to do just chatting, but um, let me look at the videos that I have. But for those of you that are watching this video, sorry for the getting on my soapbox and stuff like that. Hopefully you still enjoyed. Um, you know, check out the Conceptus puzzles. For your own enjoyment if you wish. Um, or continue coming on back. I'll do these weekly puzzles. You know, and hopefully you enjoy those. Um, like I said, if you have any questions or any concerns, or you're kind of struggling about something, or like there was like maybe some part of like a prior video that you really didn't understand or something like that, go ahead and put down a comment. Okay. Um, constructive criticism is always, you know, good as well, as long as it's constructive. Um, but you know, the my videos are there for everybody to watch and enjoy, and hopefully you have a good time with it. So, a like and subscribe would be fantastic. Check out the description for multiple likes, or multiple likes, multiple links down below, such as Discord, Patreon, Throne. Um, you know, also got my stream team down there as well. If you're interested in joining in with other streamers, or if you don't stream, you're welcome to join as well. We have more than just a need for just streamers in the team, so I can explain more on that, or you can go to my videos and see what my thought line was on that. I explained it all there. Um, but that is going to be it for this particular video. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully I catch you next time. Until then, take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And I'll catch you strangers next time.